It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and I am joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele wrote in. And on today's episode, we're taking a look at all of the top preseason hockey news. It's early, but these are going to have impacts on your squad. Penguins top power play, Coronato, Maple Leaf shuffling the lineup. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, everybody, and thank you for tuning in for the latest episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. This offseason has been a spicy one, Steele, but you know that we're just getting heated up, baby, and we're so close to puck drop. That's why on today's episode, we're going to take a look at some of what we've seen from the early preseason action, and this is one of those moments where a lot of GMs, Steele, are going to start overreacting, but maybe some are going to underreact. I know that's really not a term, but there's some players and some situations that you and I have our eyes on that are worth a fantasy hockey conversation. We're going to talk about the Penguins pairing Erik Karlsson and Kris Letang together on the top power play unit. I got a few questions for you on that one. Your boy, Matt Coronato, you talked about him months ago, Steele. Actually, at the end of the season, as a guy who's performed at every level throughout his career, and now is going to get a really good look, it seems, with the Flames performing already in the preseason. And lastly, the Maple Leafs is always something you and I try and stay on point with because it's so near and dear to our hearts. But the Maple Leafs had a lot of players go out the door. So Sheldon Keefe is getting creative here with trying to fill some of these holes. Auston Matthews playing the penalty kill. William Nylander switching to center. We'll talk about that as well. But I do want to throw it right over to you because you know that's what I like to do, Steele. This is a bit of a bold move. Erik Karlsson and Kris Letang, to me, makes sense to separate and balance out this attack. But so far, what we're seeing from the Pittsburgh Penguins is deploying them together on the top power play unit. And so far, from what I've heard, Steele, from Mike Sullivan, head coach in Pittsburgh, they're going to run this out at the start of the regular season as well. This just isn't a preseason thing. So we need to talk about it. And what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think they have to start it at the beginning of the season, but I wouldn't be looking too much into this. And I say that they have to start it at the beginning of the season because they don't have Jake Guentzel right now. He's out for the first couple of weeks. When Jake Guentzel comes back into the lineup, he will be moving onto that top right side of the blue line, or down on the right hand side. He will be on the top power play unit. I cannot see the Penguins moving forward this season with Jake Guentzel on the second power play unit and having two defensemen and Kris Letang and Erik Karlsson there. So at the beginning of the season, it makes sense. Preseason, it makes sense. You want everyone to get comfortable. You especially want to get Erik Karlsson comfortable on the power play in a new situation with Pittsburgh. But once the season gets going, they'll begin their little traction, little show for the fans out there. But when Jake Guentzel comes back, he will be right up there with Crosby, Malkin. And I don't know who it'll be. Will it be Kris Letang? Will it be Erik Karlsson? I'm not sure about that. But Jake Guentzel will be back on the top power play unit.
Couple of interesting stats to just throw out there. The Penguins ranked, we talked about this. The Penguins were very in the middle of the pack. Power play about 14th or 15th. Penalty kill, 21%. That was, power play proficiency, 14th in the league. Yeah. Clicking at 21%. Karlsson notched 27 of his 101 points last year on the man advantage. And Letang had 21 power play points on the man advantage. So clearly both of these guys are elite on the power play. I don't think actually pairing them together is the move here. Maybe it is some way to garner some hype or just to really, like you said, see what it's like to run them out there together. Because the other thing I kind of wanted to highlight is the rest of what the Pittsburgh Penguins have on the back end is not exactly getting me fired up, Steele. As in, I don't think they need to load up on that top unit. They need to spread this out because Ryan Graves, Marcus Pettersson, Chad Ruhwedel, and Pierre-Olivier Joseph, I'm not here to hate on what Kyle Dubas is trying to do and what the previous GMs have done. But to me, it doesn't make any sense. But you can't help but wonder if they do pair them together, how effective and how many offensive points this power play might put up, because we know, and like I just said, Letang, Karlsson, they are two of the best QB power play D-men that have been, the last decade? Karlsson, maybe even a little longer. So I understand that. What if it works, though? That's what I wanted to ask you. What if it works and they're dangerous? That could be scary.
It might work for them, but it might not work for the other players on the blue line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, like what you just said, they got to share the love. And I understand that, they are paired together on the power play. They are paired together in preseason right now, but on daily faceoff, again, this is just on daily faceoff, and on paper, it's actually Kris Letang and Ryan Graves first D pairing, Erik Karlsson, Marcus Peterson second D pairing. So they're going to have to spread that love. They can't just, they cannot just, they can't afford to put both of those stars on the same D pairing and let the other four defensemen suffer because they don't have that, chemistry, or they don't have that, awareness with each other, like other defensemen have in the NHL. So they're going to have to share the love. They're going to have to spread the love between a lot of their star forwards and star defensemen.
Yeah.
But to begin the season, I don't see a problem with it.
We're going to talk a lot about what else we've seen from a couple of interesting subjects, one being the Calgary Flames, Matt Coronato, the other being what's going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs and them shuffling their lineup. And before we throw to break, there has been a lot to like about what Kyle Dubas has done, Steele. And I think I've been a very big proponent of the ads of Riley Smith, even some of the smaller ones, Nola Chari, Lars Eller, of course, Erik Karlsson. We've really liked what Kyle Dubas has been able to do, but chemistry is chemistry, baby. And we haven't seen this new look Penguins team play. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of question marks headed into the season. It's just one of those things that I think GMs out there need to keep an eye on, because let's say Erik Karlsson and Kris Letang do get run out there at the start of the season and they do start clicking. That might be something to pay attention to in terms of what D-men are you playing with who, and also if you were looking at the success of the Pittsburgh Penguins as well, if we're talking about bet Steele, this is going to be a boom or bust situation, I feel, if they do run them out there together.
Yeah, it probably will be a boom or bust. And we know you've been saying this for a long time, too, that this is the last stretch for the Pittsburgh Penguins in that group to go after a Stanley Cup. They're only getting older. Kris Letang's health, has been a question mark over the last couple of years. We want him to stay healthy and be safe, but it is a big question mark. It is a part of what's going on with the Pittsburgh Penguins group. Again, Crosby, Malkin up there in age. This is one of the oldest teams in the NHL right now. They've got Jeff Carter still on their lineup. There's a couple of other guys down there that, are maybe not so beneficial right now, but because of how great that top six forward group is, you bring in Erik Karlsson, you still have Tristan Jarry, who I believe is still a stud goaltender in this league. Yeah. They've got 1 or 2 more years to really go deep and make a shot at the Stanley Cup, but after that, it's pretty much out of the question.
Since breaking into the league in 2009-10, Letang ranks 5th in defensive scoring, and Erik Karlsson ranks 1st. So again, they might be onto something in Pittsburgh, but this is a shot at it while they're headed out. We're not headed out just yet, baby, because there's a few more topics that Steele and I want to break down on today's episode. But before we get there, tomorrow's episode, 5 bold predictions for this upcoming season. One of Steele and I's favorite preseason episodes. I know Steele's already chomping at the bit to toss some bold predictions my way. You guys know bold is my middle name. But you know that we got to pay these bills. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. Missing the syrup for your pancakes, or you just ran out of your favorite coffee creamer? With DoorDash grocery delivery, you get what you want right when you need it. Love the convenience of getting what you want right to your door. With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can stock up for the week or order last-minute cravings conveniently. Need fresh groceries but don't have the time to go to the store? Try the delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered right when you need it. Get 50% off your DoorDash order up to $20 in value when you use code LOCKED at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code LOCKED. Don't forget, that's code LOCKED for 50% off your first order at DoorDash.
Wait, are you gaming? On a Chromebook?
Yep. It's got a high-res 120Hz display, plus this killer RGB keyboard. And I can access thousands of games anytime, anywhere.
Stop playing.
What?
Get out of here.
Huh?
Yeah, I want you to stop playing and get out of here so I can game on that Chromebook.
Got it.
Discover the ultimate cloud gaming machine, a new kind of Chromebook.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your favorite team from all 4 major sports leagues, including the NCAA. Your team every single day. And Flip and I are going to be talking about our team later in this episode for the last segment. Toronto Maple Leafs, what's going on with their lineup, shuffling the lineups. We know Sheldon Keefe likes to do that, but first we got to talk about another Canadian team. The Calgary Flames have looked pretty decent so far in preseason. They've got a ton of prospects in the lineup, and it looks like they'll be in the lineup for the beginning of the regular season for the Calgary Flames. But let's start with Matt Coronato, prospect of the Calgary Flames. 2 preseason games so far, absolutely dominated the first one, had a hat trick and a total of 4 points, where they absolutely dusted the Vancouver Canucks 10-0. Just an absolute gong show, very one-sided game. But Matt Coronato, I've been talking about him for the last couple of weeks, last month at least. And to me, this is a draftable player towards the end, at least towards the end of the draft. And especially for keeper leagues, very much so for keeper leagues. But if you're in a year-to-year league, I think at least get him in the 17th, 18th round. I don't know how many rounds you're drafting in, but I would at least take a shot on Matt Coronato because we obviously expect the Calgary Flames to have a bounce-back season. You know, everyone pretty much just regressed. Nazem Kadri, Elias Lindholm, especially Jonathan Huberdeau and Jakob Markstrom and Mackenzie Weegar. We know the team's going to be better. We don't believe they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be a lot better than last year. And maybe if Markstrom can go back to how he was playing 2-3 years ago, they might have a shot at making the postseason. But with Matt Coronato, he's playing on that second line with Nazem Kadri, and I know we like this guy, Dylan Dubé. Is it Dubé? You know, we talked about this a little bit. It's Dubé. Okay, Dylan Dubé, Nazem Kadri, and Matt Coronato on the second. I'm going to get it eventually. It's
okay. I say you just ride with it, Don Cherry style. That's the only way we want to be similar to Don, though. Otherwise, we're not down.
Exactly. Well, we'll get it eventually. But anyways, Matt Coronato playing on that second line with Dubé and Nazem Kadri. And he's going to get some looks up there, maybe on the top line. If Igor Sharangovich doesn't pan out with Lindholm and Huberdeau, he's going to get so much opportunity in Calgary. I really do see this kid jumping off the page. You know, he's probably not going to be in consideration for the Calder Trophy, but I think there's a lot of things to keep your eyes on with this game, with the Calgary Flames team, and even some of the other prospects, Walker Dewar, Adam Ruzicka, Jacob Pelletier as well. All 3 of those guys make up the entire fourth line. So Calgary's got a ton of prospects coming into their lineup this upcoming season. And I'm honestly very excited about how these players are going to bounce back and how these prospects are going to play alongside them.
Pelletier took a bit of a nasty hit the other night. I don't know if you saw that highlight. He kind of got crumpled up from behind, and it's one of those things that, like, preseason hockey is obviously just a run out to see what these teams have, and you can't help but feel like, I really don't care, Steele, where your allegiances lie. Seeing a young player like Pelletier get hurt like that in an exhibition game, I hope he's okay. I think the word is still out. But what you're saying about Coronato has me intrigued, because this is a man who's 5'10" and is still already ready to make an impact in the NHL. And when there is a guy who's only 5'10" in today's NHL, and I know it's changing and it's not as physical and guys aren't as big, 5'10" means to me that you've been proving all your career so far that your offensive hands and your talent is silencing any doubt about what you can bring in the physicality department. And that has me intrigued, because also when you read about this guy and you watch him play, he's always going. His motor is high. He makes up for his lack of size with his motion and his skating ability. And I'll say this, his shot, I think, is his most underrated skill. He's got a great shot.
Yes.
And I think the winds of change are blowing through Calgary. The Sutter days are done. Last year was a huge disappointing season for the Flames for obvious reason. Markstrom disappoints. Huberdeau is a shell of himself. That basically, Steele, considering how many one-goal games that team lost, and I know it was the most in the NHL, was a disaster. So I think this team is going to be better, perhaps by default. But that means some of these good, and you mentioned Dewar, he's looking good too. Get a piece of what's going on in Calgary, probably more from the keeper dynasty side, like Steele said. But if you want to take a risk on someone at the back end of your year-to-year draft, why not Matt Coronato, who's looking like he's ready to bust?
I think he is. I think he's right there. I think he's right there on the edge, ready to just absolutely take off and just see where this NHL career can take him with the Calgary Flames. And again, I don't expect the Flames to make the playoffs just because there's a lot of good teams in the West. They have a chance. I'm not saying they're completely out of it.
No, I'm with you, Steele.
But it really depends. It depends on if Jakob Markstrom can get back to the way he was playing 2 seasons ago, and if Jonathan Huberdeau can get back to the way he was playing in Florida. I'm not saying he's going to get 115 points, but you got to do more. You got to do more than what you showcased last year and shoot the puck, man. Shoot the puck.
And right after that, I would say Mackenzie Weegar and Nazem Kadri would be right at the top of that list for needing to be better for this team to succeed. And I think I just wanted to leave it at this before we head to break and head to our next topic, or just head to our next topic, pal. You take it away. Is the Calgary Flames were 19th in power play proficiency and 19th in total goals scored last year. That's not going to be good enough when you see the teams at the top of the league scoring at will like they have, and you have teams that are going to be real offensive threats coming out of the West, like the LA Kings, the Colorado Avalanche, and let's not even forget about the Dallas Stars. Because, Steele, you and I haven't done our bets yet or had a look at those future odds other than you, but when we get closer, the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers out of the West are going to be getting a little sprinkle of my money. And I think the Calgary Flames, though, with what's going on, I'm not saying cup. I'm not even close to saying cup. I'm just saying they're going to be better. And I love that you're targeting a guy. And Matt Coronato also, let's be realistic, that unless you're tuning in and you're tapped to the show, really good idea also, Matt Coronato is going to be overlooked. And maybe he shouldn't be, because he's going to get a really good look in that top 6.
I think a lot of Calgary Flame players are going to get overlooked. I've already seen in a lot of mock drafts and even the drafts that I've done so far. Huberdeau, Rasmus Andersson, Markstrom, a couple of those other guys have really slid down the board. Too. Nazem has definitely slid down the board. So those players are getting they're getting drafted still, but they're getting overlooked and they're falling to rounds where I didn't think that they would fall to. But that's just how it plays out for the Calgary Flames right now, because it's up in question marks. But we expect them to have a bounce back season. We also expect big things from the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is our next segment. We're going to get to all of the lineup shuffling, PK and power play. That's up next.
On October 5th, Loki is back in a brand new season.
Reunited. That's right.
The countdown is on.
I've been waiting.
Don't miss the return of Marvel's most watched Disney Plus show.
Loki. A little over the top, don't you think? I thought it was spot on.
His time is running out.
You better run!
Marvel Studios' Loki Season 2. New episodes streaming October 5th, only on Disney Plus.
If you're a business owner, listen up. Your company could be mentioned right here. With the NHL season right around the corner, Locked On has a special locals-only NHL kickoff package. 2 local businesses, yes, only 2 local businesses can sponsor this podcast for the upcoming NHL season. Find out how you can get this exclusive sponsorship and hear your business on this podcast. Text the word advertising to 33777. Or visit LockedOnPodcasts.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit LockedOnPodcasts.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.
But thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. Hit the subscribe, hit the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We could not be doing this with all of our listeners out there. So thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, let's get right into the nitty gritty of things right now. Toronto Maple Leafs switching some things up right now. You alluded to it in the first segment that obviously the Maple Leafs have lost a couple of key players on special teams, specifically penalty kill, a little bit of the power play, but they're starting to figure things out in the preseason. They're starting to figure things out in development camp and just in practice in general. Where would you like to start off with? Because I know Auston Matthews potentially on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
There's some things I want to talk about the power play, and even William Nylander taking center position for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Let me just hit you with this. I know that Noel Acciari and Ryan O'Reilly came in at the deadline. Those are two amazing penalty killing pieces. And then you lose Alex Kerfoot as well, who had a lot of his game, had a lot of holes in it, but he was a very good forechecking, penalty-killing forward, and you lose all three. And now you lose some teeth to your penalty kill that was 12th in the NHL. And when you have a power play steal that right behind the historically good Edmonton Oilers, the Leafs were the best power play unit in the league last year, and that is their bread and butter. And I think power play and penalty kill is going to be the key for this team's success, other than the obvious, and that's in the crease. So if they can maintain what's going on the penalty kill, I think that's going to be so important. And I think that's why you're seeing this conversation about a player like Auston Matthews being a part of the penalty kill unit. But maybe when you dig a little deeper, it makes a whole lot of sense, because Auston Matthews ranked 4th among all forwards in block shots since entering the league at 443, and he's 5th in takeaways. So what you've said a lot of the time is some people are starting to forget that Matthews has rounded his all-around game into form. He blocks shots. He's willing to lay the body. He's pushing forward on the penalty kill, on the forecheck, and he has clearly developed that two-way game. This makes a whole lot of sense for two reasons. The fact that his game is rounding into form, and they have holes to fill. But I think what I want to say is your best players need to be your best players in whatever situation you throw them out there, for the most part. Of course, you're going to have your specialists, you're going to have your power play specialists, you're going to have your penalty kill specialists. But when it comes to a guy like Matthews, and we know his talent ceiling is so high, he should be out there, in my opinion, Steele. And I think deployed in the correct position, I don't want to see him on PK1. I want to see him on the PK2, and I want his minutes limited, because he is here to score goals. But I love the fact that they're trying this, and also it's a bit like it's a need, right? They need to be doing this.
Yeah, and it also goes to show the coaching mindset behind the penalty kill itself. You look at some of the other teams. I want to go to the LA Kings with Anze Kopitar, Vancouver Canucks last year, and even with the New York Islanders, Bo Horvat, and his success on the penalty kill, getting shorthanded goals. It's not all about just getting the puck out of your zone and clogging up the neutral zone, cutting them off so you can dump the puck back again. It's about trying to find those key takeaways so you can potentially get a breakaway or potentially get it to him. Obviously, you're defensive minded first because you're on the PK. But if you can get an opportunity, you want those best players out there. That's why Mitch Marner's out there on the penalty kill, because he's crafty, he's fast, he passes the puck behind for the man trailing him. That's why some of these shifty, creative minds are also on the penalty kill, because they are able to anticipate the takeaway and get those opportunities. And getting Matthews on the penalty kill from time to time could be very key for the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward.
You know what's interesting, Steele, is, and I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, because what you just said, I'm absolutely loving, but I don't know if I sent you that statistic of like a poll recently of the most hated franchises. Did you see that one?
Yes, you did.
And He's at the top. And when I've just, I've been looking at Auston Matthews' numbers, and I was wondering, if I wasn't a Leafs fan, would I be so high on this player? And when you look at the stats, I'm straight up embarrassed for hockey fans that are out here taking shots at Auston Matthews just because of the team he's on. Because I think people need to really wake up and dig into the numbers, because this kid has been nothing but one of the best players in the league since entering. And now, with his game rounding into form, we're still seeing the hate. And you and I had a very heated debate, speaking of heat, about Matthews' performance last year. And I said it wasn't bad. I said it was disappointing. And you and I had some disagreements, and that's okay, because I understood both sides. But when you look at actually his numbers, if last year was, and I think you respected at least some of what I was saying, some people might call it disappointing. But if you are going to call it disappointing, 40 goals, 85 points, 327 shots on net, and his giveaway takeaway ratio still solid. He's blocking shots and he's throwing hits. I don't want to hear any more slander about Auston Matthews ever, because if you are, that's just you being a hater. And I implore you to do a bit more research and watch a little bit more hockey, because I think, Steele, this guy is going to go off this year. I'm saying 100+ points, and I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, baby, because he needs to be. He needs to be that good.
Hey, most of the hate probably comes from the Ottawa Senators fans. They just love to hate out on Auston Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We got a couple more things that we want to talk about real quickly before we wrap this episode up. William Nylander taking the center position on the third line, centering as of right now Robertson and Max Domi. I don't think that's going to last. I think his true position is on the left wing. That's what he's born to do. He's been great there, or left wing or right wing, doesn't matter which side, but he can't be centerman. I just don't like him in the center position, honestly. I'll leave it at that. I think he's honestly just better on the wing, and he can move up and down the lineup instead of playing on the third line center.
There was 19 NHL players last year that scored 40 or more goals, and William Nylander was one of them. And speaking of guys who get too much hate, William Nylander does not have an all-around game. Should it develop? Yes. Should he be one of those guys that does it all? Maybe, but that's not his game. And he is an elite goal scorer, and I'm just a little bit worried, Steele. You've played hockey. I've played enough. The center position has more responsibility. The center position has to be more aware on the ice, and they better be that first guy backing up the D-men. And Willie has the wheels. I just don't think he has the hockey IQ. And
he's scared to get in the corners.
Take away from his 40-goal ability. So why are you laying more responsibility on the man? Put him on the wing. Find another guy to play up the center and let this guy do his offensive studliness, which clearly can be 40+ goals. I'm with you. And I think this is one of those cases of Keith tinkering a little bit too much. And I know, again, this is trying to address a need. Noel Acciari gone. Ryan O'Reilly gone. Some of these pieces gone. They're going to have to get a little creative. But I don't think this is the move where actually, when I look at the other bold move of Matthews going on the PK, that one makes a lot of sense to me. This one I'm not loving as much. So also, before you start buying into Willie up the middle and drafting him as a center, he's going to get busted over to that wing pretty soon, Steele, and you might get pooched on that situation if someone does bank on Willie as a centerman.
I think he will be moving over, just so everyone is aware of that. He most likely will go over to the wing position. Don't look into him continuing as a centerman. I don't see him being that third line center. He's supposed to be playing in the top 6 group. It's just the way it's supposed to be right now. For William Nylander, the Maple Leafs. Real quick, last topic right now, and it's going to be real quick. Okay. John Klingberg potentially on the first power play unit. It's going to be Morgan Riley. It could flip, could go back and forth between the two, but even the second power play unit of Domi, Matthew Knies, Bertuzzi, Yarncroke, and Klingberg, if that's the second power play unit, I don't hate it whatsoever. I would like to see Klingberg get some opportunity and some time up there on the PP1, get a right shot defenseman up there. And this is an honorable, bold prediction. John Klingberg, 50 points this season.
Ooh. Okay. 2 things there. First part, I'm going to somewhat disagree with, because Morgan Riley has earned that role as the number one quarterback on that power play. But considering how good we think the Leafs are going to be and how solid we think that second power play is, and that might be debatable around other circles, but that's not us, Steele, because we're buying into it and we're drinking the Kool-Aid, baby. I think 50 points is fine for John Klingberg because he's just underperformed. His ability and talent is there. That's a fact. That doesn't leave you. It's just your ability to get it done that does. So let's see what he can do this year. Hopefully rejuvenated, hopefully now with a really offensive-minded club. And I'm not saying the Minnesota Wild aren't offensively minded, but let's be real, Steele, and you can all
they really aren't, though.
They're not the Toronto Maple Leafs when it comes to their ability on the power play, and that's what Klingberg does. So I'm with you on that prediction. I, again, though, like the balance of having him on the second power play unit. Although Morgan Rielly struggles and Klingberg starts to click, Keefe is shuffling that lineup quicker than you can say Mark Giordano's birthday, baby. And that's all that matters. And honestly, Steele, 5 bold predictions tomorrow is going to be a fun one.
It's going to be a great episode. We always love doing those bold predictions because we like seeing if it ends up panning out the way we thought it would. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you're tuning in Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is when you can find all of our episodes. Thank you again so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com, code LOCKEDON. That's JamesAllen.com, code LOCKEDON.
If you're a business owner, listen up. Your company could be mentioned right here. With the NHL season right around the corner, Locked On has a special locals-only NHL kickoff package. 2 local businesses, yes, only 2 local businesses can sponsor this podcast for the upcoming NHL season. Find out how you can get this exclusive sponsorship and hear your business on this podcast. Text the word advertising to 33777 or visit LockedOnPodcast.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit LockedOnPodcast.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.